Guys, welcome back. We have been able to set up the add product to cart. Also remove product from cart is done. Now we will deal with checkout, payment gateway, and if I still have time I will deal with the review and rate products today, but let's just focus on the checkout process. Now handling the checkout process, I think this one has also been done. View all products, done, and admin can see all products. Okay, so now handling the checkout process will require us to set up our order, and in setting up our order we have to capture some certain things. And for this video, what I'm going to do is, for the payment side, I'm going to use Stripe to show you guys how it works. And without wasting time, let's start setting them up. Close up this cart.css, close up everything here for now, close up this nav.js. We can leave the app.js because we will need it. Now we can go back to our backend, and inside our models, let's set up our order model. For the models of our order, I'm going to set it up in such a way whereby we handle order status, which will comprise of 3 different status choices: one for pending, one for completed, then one for cancelled. So we will set this up and also link a user to the order, and also in the order we'll capture address, city, maybe I can add country. We'll also have the product, the status of the product, total price, timestamp, created at, updated at. Then for the payment side, the reason why I'm even doing this particular setup in a simple way is to make it not to be complicated. I'm not going to set up a different models for order items. I'm just going to set up an order model that will capture our order, the payment completed, payment ID, status of the order, then total price, created at, updated at, so that it will be very simple for you to set up and understand. So when you're not building a complex e-commerce application, you can decide to separate the logic whereby you have your order and also have an order items model. Let's quickly set up our order. Call our order model as order, and inside it will do models.model. The first thing, I will set my set order status. For this we will have pending, and for the pending I will set it as pending. Then we'll have completed, and we'll also have cancelled. So we'll go ahead and set the status choices, where we then append the pending for pending, completed for completed. Let me zoom this a little bit, then cancelled for cancelled. Okay, now with this setup, let me go ahead and link a user to order, and to do that we will use user equals to models.foreign key, where we will set our foreign key to be user on delete cascade. I can set this, maybe I can add null to be true, blank true. Let me add address. For the address we'll use models.char field, can do mass let of 255, then default we can set it to be none. Let's also add for city. For the city, the same thing, can close this one this way. Then I will also add country, in case we have customers that are buying from different country. When they add the address, everything, they can specify that. You can decide to add more fields depending on how you want your checkout process to look like, but for me, I'm going to go ahead with these 3 fields. The next thing I'm going to add is the products, and for this one we'll also have a relationship with our, now because of what we did here, having our cart item, as a JSON field, I'm also going to capture my product to be in such a way whereby we will pull up the information from this cart and add everything inside our product. So for this product, I'm going to set it to be model.json field, also set it to be default list. I don't need to call list function that way, just like this. Now let's add our order details. For the order details, I will first of all add my status, which I will set to be equals to models.char field, and inside it I will set mass length of 10. Then I will set my choices to be equals to status choices. Then I will set the default to be pending. Now the next one is to add our total price. For this we will use let's use decimal field, set mass length to be 10, decimal places to be 2, and I will set the default to be 0.00. The next thing, let me add our timestamps. So we are going to have the created at field, where we will use the datetime field auto, or you know what, instead of using auto add now, let me use default for it to be time zone on now. Let me see, did I import time zone here? Okay, so let's import time zone from django.utils. import time zone, come down and changes to be default time zone dot. Now for the updated that, we can then use auto now to be true, also using date time field. Okay, the next details I'm going to capture in this model is the payment details field, and we are going to have two fields. The first one will be payment completed, and it's going to be a boolean field, so that whenever we make payments from Stripe, we can be able to set this to either true, depending if the payment was successful or not. Set this to default to be false. The next one, I'm going to add the payment ID, and for the payment ID, I will set it to the models.share field masslet 255. Now for our string representation, return order, but instead of just this, I will do by self.user.username dash status, set it to be self.status. Now the next function I'm going to do here is the one that's going to help us to calculate our total, and to do that I will do self calculate underscore total. For this we'll use self. We will go ahead and calculate the total price based on the product stored in the order, and I will use return sum, and inside the sum I will use float because of the way we are setting our price. I think our price is a float in product also. Okay, we are using decimal field, yeah, which is a float. Okay, so for here I'm going to set float, and inside it will add item, then we will get the price, right? And once we get the price, I will multiply it by the item quantity times item quantity for then item in self dot. Let's do product. So let's arrange this properly. This comma here, sorry, the bracket should be here. Let's set our function for save, and for my save we'll use self, then arguments and keywords argument, and automatically what this is going to do for me is to automatically calculate our total price when saving. Do you understand? And to do that, I will just say if not self dot total price, then self dot total price equals to self dot calculated total that we have done here. Then we'll go ahead and do super dot save argument, then keywords argument. Our database is ready. You can go ahead and save, cross check and make sure there's no error. I can even remove this null and blank and setting for the address. Let it just be default to none. Okay, so we can go ahead and save this. Now for our admin, let's also set up the admin.site.register order. Save, close down the admin. Can open up our terminal, terminate, go ahead and do python manage.py, make migrations. We'll go ahead and migrate. Okay, clear and run our server again, and go ahead to close the terminal. Now we can close our models.py and come back and open up our views.py, so we can set up our orders view. Before we set up our API view for orders, we also need to serialize our order. And to serialize our order, I'll go ahead and import order here and come down below and set up my class for order serializer. And inside this my order serializer, I'm going to do some manipulation. Since our product is stored as a JSON field, I'm going to need to bring the product model inside our order serializer to help us store the product inside the product field that we are going to specify. And to do that, what I'm going to do is here I will set my product to be product. Let me just serialize it rather. So I'm going to set it to be serializers.json field. Then I will also do same for user to be serialized. Sorry, let's use the user serializer here. I'm going to set this to be read only equals to true. Thereafter, let me bring this up. I will set my class meta, and for the model, I will set it to be equals to order. Then for the fields, what I need here is ID. Let me add user, then also add address. Let's add city. Change this one to be country, then also add product total underscore price, and last but not the least, I will add, can change this as a list instead of tuple. I will set read underscore only fields. For these we will set it to be equals to ID, then 2 the user, then 3 I will add the total price. I can change this one to be created at, then updated at. I think that's what we have in our models. We have this as updated at. Okay, close this back. Now the next thing I'm now going to do is to create a function that will help us to override the default create method to ensure that the total price is calculated and associated with an order. And to do that, I will create a function create here, and inside this function I will call on self, then validated underscore data, and inside this my function, what I will do is to do products underscore data. I will set it to be validated data dot pop, and inside I will append the product, then close this. The next one I will do order equals to order.objects.create, then I will also set it to be validated data. Thereafter I will do order.product. I will set it to be product underscore data, so that this will go ahead and save product JSON. Thereafter I will call on the order.save and return order. Now our serializer is ready. We can start setting up the views for our order. The first thing I'm going to do is to set up an admin view for all orders placed by user. And to do that, let me add a comment here. Admin views for all orders placed by users. I'm up a little. Now for this one, I'm going to set it as admin order view. Yeah, but let's import our order here. Let's import the order serializer and also import the order model here. Okay, so we now have the admin order view. Okay, and inside it we have the permission classes as admin user. So for you to access this, you must be an admin. Then I'm setting the query set to be order.objects.org. Okay, we can leave it this way. Then serializer class, I'm setting it to be the order serializer. Now the next one is going to be for the orders of the current user. Order view for users. For this one, I'm going to set it as user order view. I'm also going to use generics, but I'm not going to use list API. I will use retrieve, update, and destroy. So what this one is going to do is going to retrieve single orders. I'm also going to set permission classes to be is authenticated. Then the serializer class is going to be order serializer. Set my query set here, order.objects.all. I don't need to get the query set here. Yeah, good. Okay, yeah, let's set up the query set. You know what? Let me set it up so that it only allows user to access their own orders. And to do that, I'm going to set this get query set to return order.objects.filter, then user equal to self.request.user. So with this way, you cannot access order if it is not your own. Okay, now the next one is for creating a new order. Creating a new order view for users. So we can use user order create view, can maintain the generics.create API view. Then permission classes is also going to be authenticated, then order.serializer. Then for this perform create, I'm going to go ahead and create this function, and what I will do here is to do serializer.save, then I will say user.self.request.user. Okay, now with this setup, we can go ahead and import all these endpoints in our urs.py, setting up the endpoints, for all these different classes I have created. The first one, we can add the path for, let's call it API/admin underscore view orders. Let's see what we call it here. The one I'm going to import is for the admin view order. Come back and change it to be this admin order view, then dot as view, then we can call it admin underscore view orders. Now the next one I'm going to import is the one for users to see their own orders. API then /user/view. Let's do view orders. What do we call the function? User order view. Okay, let's change it, user order view, then dot as view. For the name, we'll set it as user view orders. Okay, the next endpoint we are going to set is the one for creating order. So I'm going to set it as API then /order. Okay, let's just call it order then /new. For this one, what did we call it in our views? User order create dot as view, then user order create. Can save. We will come back to setting up the payment, but for now, let's quickly set up the checkout process with all these endpoints we have added in our front end. Let's open up the front end, and in our components, we will create the checkout.js. Now, for this checkout.js, we will set up our order summary. that we are going to pull up from our cat, then also add the necessary information we need to add. The first thing, as usual, that we usually import is the React, but aside from React, I will also use state here. Okay, I will import navigate, import use navigate from React router DOM. Also, we will import our cat, import use cat from our cat context, import our API from API, and we will import the the checkout styles that we're going to set up once we are done with our checkout.jss. So I'm going to still maintain checkout.css. Remove this. Okay, let's import this one properly. Import API from API, then we'll import our styles. Okay, now first thing first, we'll do const checkout, and for this, inside it we will set our state. Okay, for the state I'm going to set it to be cat, right? Then put space and also add the clear cat, because once we are able to pull up this, that means we are meant to clear our cat. And for this I'm going to use cat. Thereafter I'll also set up the navigate to use the navigate. So what this is going to do for us is to ensure that our cat is retrieved from state. The next thing I'm going to do is to do const customer info, then I will set customer info. I start the in with capital letter, customer info, then set customer info, which we will use state. Once we set this, what I'm going to do inside this my use state, I'm going to then add the address, set it as empty, then also add city, set it as empty. The last one is country. Once we do this, we will go ahead and set our input change function, and for that I will set it as const handle input change, set e as our parameter, and inside the function what I'm going to do is to do const, first of all I will get name and I will get value, then I will set it e.target, can remove the value, just e.target, then I'll go ahead and call on the customer info function we created, set this customer info, this one I'll go ahead and call the customer info, then name I will set the value. We can go ahead and handle the one for submit, handle submit, we will use async, then e.prevent.default. Let's close this first before we continue. For this my handle submit, inside it I will first of all check if is not customer info dot address, right, or customer info dot city or customer info dot country. I think that's what I'm using there, address, city and country. Can remove this one, do not have anything as such. Go ahead and alert us, so we can just use console.error or fields are required, then we'll go ahead and return. We'll go ahead and use try. For the try, what I'm going to do is to first of all get the response. Cause response I'm going to use await, then API dot post API slash others slash new. I think that's what we did here. Okay, let's add others here so that it will sync with this. Okay, go ahead and close this. I hope it's closed here. Okay, we will go ahead and set address to be customer info.address, then we'll also set city be customer info.city, set country to be customer info.country. Thereafter for our products we will set it to cat.map. I'm going to change this to be item because that's what we have in our cat. So inside here I will set this to be item, also set our price, which I'm going to PS as a float because that's the way we have it in our backend, which I will set then to item.price. So what this is going to do for us is to ensure our item is a number. You get what I'm saying? So when we do this, we can go ahead and close this, add one more. Okay, I can go ahead and add a console.log to help us to debug. Let's add this as order response or result, which I will set it to be as order response.data. Okay, now use status to check what is going on. So I will do if response.status is equals to 201, right? Go ahead and clear our cat, then navigate us to order confirmation, which will have the order details. Then this order confirmation, we are gonna slash it with the response.data then .id. Let me set this with a backtick. Okay, then I'll go ahead and catch an error. Let me use error here. I'm going to do console.error, error creating order. Let's come down and do if is not cat or cat.length is equals to 0. I want it to return for me. Let's see this. Okay, but let me just use a p tag instead of your cart is empty. Please add some items to proceed to checkout. Okay, we can just add everything here to be in one p tag. Remove this one. Now this one is meant to be a bracket and not a curly bracket. So if it's not cat or it's not cat.length, I want you to return your cat is empty, then please add some products to proceed to checkout. Okay, now we can go ahead and return our HTML. Let's return this. Okay, so the first thing I have here is going to be the checkout, then the form and submit. We are going to handle submit, but let me add a class name here. I'm going to set it to be checkout-form. Now I don't need this label, all I just need is the input. So for my input, indict properly, we have name, can remove the ID, then the value I'm setting it to customer info.address, then on change we handle input change. Okay, before the required, I can go ahead and add a placeholder. For the placeholder, I will add it to be address. I can also add a class name here as checkout-input. Okay, then we can add the required, bring this one down, can duplicate this so we can add more for the other fields. The next one is city, so change the name here to be city, also change this one to be city. This is going to be country, change this one to be country. Add my order summary, and I'm going to use h3, add order summary, and I will add a UL. Let me add a class name as order summary. Order summary, come up a little. I will add the cart.map where we are having the item, then our key, we are setting it to item.id. Okay, let me add the class name inside this as order-item. Okay, this is showing this with span item.name, then item.price. Okay, I think I can have a more simpler logic instead of all these long things that I'm doing here. You guys, if you want, you can just make your own UI to be better, but let me just simplify this. Instead of using span for all of everything here, let's just bring this item.id. I'll just put dash here, then add the $sign. We can multiply this by quantity. Let me put s item.quantity. Close this up. Add another p tag here, class name. This one is going to help me to handle my total price, total, right? Then I will put cat.reduce, and inside this I will add AC, then I'll add item and close this. With the arrow function, I will do plus item.price, then I'll go ahead and times it by item.quantity, then set 0. Okay, I'll close this bracket and do dot to fist to 2, then we can close this one. Okay, so you guys can see what I'm doing here. Remember, the code is going to be available on GitHub. And what else? Let me add a class name, checkout, then dash button, and inside here I will set it to be place order. Okay, now we can go ahead and close this format. Yeah, what we have here is the form. When we close the form, I will come down and close this div, then item.id, set price. Okay, let's remove this span here. Okay, our error is out. Now, semicolon, semicolon, then we can go ahead and export our default checkout. Okay, so let me zoom this back, but remember the code is going to be available on GitHub, so you can use it to test run what you're doing and play around. We can go ahead, import this checkout in our app.js. As usual, we will import checkout. Come down here, import it here. Route, then set path to be equals to /checkout. Then for the element, I'm also gonna set it to be is authorized. If not, navigate to login. You cannot access this unless you're authorized. That's the point of setting up the is authorized here. Save this and let's come back to our cart.js. We can set up the function that's going to help us to handle checkout here. Remember, we added proceed to checkout, but nothing is happening there. Since we have not added this checkout in our app.js and set up the checkout component, we can come back here and set up a function that's going to navigate us back to checkout. Do it below here and do const handle checkout. We'll use arrow function to navigate to checkout so that Inside here I can add an onClick, and I will add the handle checkout function. Go ahead and save. Now if we come back here in our front end, let's refresh. Okay, so we need to now set up our checkout.css. Come back, come here in our styles, we will create the checkout.css. Inside it we will paste our CSS. I'm not showing you guys anything that has to do with CSS, but everything will be available on GitHub. Okay, so now we are back here, and let's come here. If we want to check out this, we can proceed to check out. Okay, it's not working. Let's see what is going on. Console, navigate is not defined. Okay, probably we did not import navigate in our cart.jss. So to do that, we'll do import use navigate from React router DOM, so that here you can set up the const navigate. Save this. Now let's come back here, proceed to check out. We are brought to this beautiful UI here, so we can add 45 gig street. Let's add our city as New York. We can add this as USA. As you can see, iPhone S12. Hold on, let's come back to check out. Oh, the quantity we have here is 12. So let's decrease. Oops, let's refresh again. Okay, we have one quantity now. So come back here, proceed to check out 45 gig street, New York, USA. Now we have one quantity. Now if I proceed to order confirmation, it's not going to work because we have not set up our order confirmation. So since we have gotten this far, let's go back and set up the order confirmation that's now going to pull up the whole details, and we can go ahead and make payment. So what I can do before we even deal with the order confirmation, let's see, because okay, let's place this order first. You see, we are now being taken to this, and this order has been placed. As you can see, we are having this one ID. Now if I come to the orders, we will see order #1 by YouTube, status pending. This is the order details. Everything is inside of it. Payment is not completed. There's no payment ID. Good, we are progressing. I can just leave this page like this. What I would then do is to go back to set up the order confirmation, so that after setting it up, we can create our payment intent and handle payment. Let's come back here. Since we're already in the front end, let's quickly set up the order confirmation page before we go back to our backend to set up our payment structure. Okay, you know what? Let's deal with the backend first, then come back to the front end. Now, like I said, we're going to be using Stripe. I'm not going to show you guys anything that has to do with Stripe, but I'm going to show you guys the way you can handle your payment with Stripe. You get what I'm saying? But I have done previous video on how to set up Stripe, and I'm not going to capture the process of going to Stripe to get your private key or secret key or the public key. But I'm going to show you guys my own public and private key. But at the end of this video, when the video is live, I'm going to destroy the private key and the public key from Stripe, so that even if you guys decide to access it, it's not going to work. Let's come back to our backend. Let's go to our settings and add our Stripe private key. Inside our settings root here, I'm going to create a .env file, and inside it I will set up my Stripe _ secret key. Paste my Stripe secret key, save it. Then if we come back here, I can import OS if it is not already imported. So let's import OS, then come down here, set our Stripe secret os.env, and I will set it as, where is that, our .env file. I'm gonna set it as this Stripe secret key. Okay, now we can save this. Okay, we are getting this error. OS has no, this should be get env, not env. So we can save. Let's run our server again. Okay, so now we have our Stripe secret key imported in our settings, because we are going to be using this secret key to set up our payment intent. Now, before we proceed, we also need to install the Stripe library from Python. So to do that, we'll do pip, okay, let me clear this out. We'll do pip install Stripe. Okay, so we are done installing Stripe. We can clear, run the server again, close up the terminal. We can close our .env. Now in our views here, let's import Stripe. Now let's set up our payment intent. Let's can just do it here. Take this down. For the payment intent, I'm going to set up the Stripe payment processing. First thing I'm going to do is to set the API key to be global, and to do that I will do stripe.api_key, which I will set it to the settings. We need to import settings too. I don't think we have imported settings here. From Django.config import settings, so that when we come back here we can go ahead and do settings dot, I think it's stripe_secret_key. But to cross check, let's make sure that's what we have here. We can just copy, bring it here and see. Is it the same thing? Yeah, so we are good to go. Now when we do this, I'm going to use CSRF exempt. I'm going to exempt this from CSRF. First I will do at CSRF, I will call my function to be create_payment_intent, and inside this we'll use request. I also use the order_id. Okay, those are the two parameters I will use. First I will bring the order, then equals to order.objects.id, .get id equal to order id. But before we set this amount, which is not the way I'm going to set it, I'm going to use try and except to handle our payment intent on Stripe. And to do that, the first thing I'm going to do here is to set my intent to be stripe.payment_intent.create, where we will then set the amount as int, then order.total amount, we will multiply it by 100. So the reason why we are multiplying by 100 is because Stripe expects amounts, I think in cents, so that's why we are multiplying this by 100. Now the currency we are going to use is USD, then the metadata we are going to use should be CRUD. You know what, let me just set my metadata here. For the metadata, I'm going to set it to be equals to order by ID, then order_ID. Okay, it should be meta, not meta. So what I'm doing here is to attach my order ID in metadata, and also we have set our currency to USD. If you want to use a different currency, you can do that. Once I do this, what I will go ahead is to return JSON the client, which is intent, but I'm going to set this differently. Instead of this way, what I will do is return JSON, then the client secret. Let me do it as client big, then secret like this. Then I'll put intent, and inside is my intent is an array. I will set it as client secret. Let's remove this one. This is correct. What I'm doing here is to send our client secret to frontend. With this setup, we can go ahead and handle our except. For the except, I'm going to set exception as E, then we'll return JSON error string. Then what I can do is to set my status here, status to be equals to 500. Now the reason why I'm setting this payment intent this way is because I want to give you guys a very simple payment intent structure, something not difficult to integrate. I don't want to make it complex. You can see just few lines of code so that you can use it to understand what is going on. Then as you progress, you can read more on how to use Stripe on their platform, you know, go through their documentation. There are so many other things you can do, but this works. It's just a very simple structure. Create our payment intent. Once this is done, create a function that's going to help us to mark our order to be paid. So the purpose of this is going to help us to extract payment ID from the request body, then check if the status method is post, go ahead and mark order as completed if these informations are valid. So to do that, I'm going to create another function that I will call mark order paid. Mark_order then paid. For this one, we'll also use request then order ID. Inside the function, let's come up. We will first of all check if the request body is post. If request.method is not equals to post, go ahead and return a JSON response error, invalid request method, and set our status to 405. But however, if we are good, set our order to order.objects then .get, then our ID, then order_ID. Thereafter, we'll go ahead and do if order.payment_completed, right? Go ahead and return another JSON response for me. Let me set it as message. We can set it as order is already completed and marked as paid. Close this, then set our status to be 400. Close. Then after this is done, let's go ahead and extract our payment ID from the request body. And to do that, I will do payment_data to be equals to JSON loads. I will set it to be request.body. Close. then payment ID, I will set it to payment data, but I will go ahead and do .get, and inside it will get the payment ID. Now another thing I'm going to do is to check if not payment ID, return payment ID is required. So to do that, I will do if not payment underscore ID, go ahead and return JSON error, payment ID is missing, then status to be also 400. If yes, then go ahead and mark as paid. So what we'll do is to set the order dot status. First we'll set it to be equals to completed, then we'll go ahead and also get the order dot completed to be true, and I will set the order dot payment underscore ID to be equals to payment underscore ID, and order dot save. Thereafter we'll return JSON message order marked as paid successfully. The error message can work. Come out here, let's also show the payment ID to be payment ID. Okay, now these two functions are ready, and this is a very simple logic for you to implement. Just with these few functions, we have been able to set up our payment intent and also marked our order to paid. So what this is going to do, when we pull up our payment from here, we are going ahead to mark it as paid when we have been able to verify the payment ID from the request.body. Now in our urs.py, we can go ahead and import all these endpoints, API, then slash, add the one for mark as paid, API, then okay, we can go ahead and save. Now we are done with this. Did you set up? Okay, we have already set up everything for serializer. Close the serializer. We can close this one to close the views. Now we can come back to our front end. In our front end, let's open up our terminal. We also need to install Stripe in our front end. So I'm going to terminate the server. Then we'll do npm install Stripe. While it's installing, let's open up the package.json. I just want to make sure I'm installing the correct thing. Okay, so this is wrong. I'm going to uninstall it and install the correct one. So let's do uninstall Stripe. Okay, clear. Let me close down this. So the way to install this is stripe / react - stripe - js, then a stripe / stripe - js. Hit enter. Okay, so it has gone ahead to install them. Now we can clear this and npm run dev again, close terminal, and also closed package.json. Now also in our front end here, we already have a .env file, yeah, where we are importing this our byte. So I'm going to use it to set up the one for our Stripe public key. So I'm going to call it stripe underscore pub underscore key, then I will set it to be this. This is my Stripe public key. Okay, save. Come to this our token.js and export it. So let's export const stripe underscore pub underscore key, then I will set it to be Stripe public key. Now with this setup, we can save this and we have them here. We can then use it in our order confirmation. So the next thing I'm going to set up, since we have set up our cart and also set up our checkout, normally our checkout has a button that is taking us to place order, and we do not have the order confirmation set up because we have not set up the front end, the back end before. Now inside our components, I will add another file, order confirmation .jss. Okay, inside the order confirmation.js, go ahead and import React. I will also import use effect, then I will import use state as well from React. Import the public key. I'm going to import Stripe public key from token. Then we'll also import use params from our React router DOM. Then I'll go ahead and import load. I'm expecting it to show up. We have already installed that load Stripe, but let me import it locally then. So load Stripe from Stripe, then /@stripe/stripe.js. This load Stripe because we're going to be using it to set up our Stripe. Then we'll also import elements, then CRUD elements, use Stripe, and use elements from Stripe/React Stripe.js. The next thing we are going to import is our API. From API, then we'll also import our styles that we are going to set up shortly. Let's call it order confirmation.css. Okay, now the first thing is to load the Stripe pub key, and to do that I will do const Stripe, let's call it Stripe promise, right? Set it to be load Stripe, the load Stripe function, bring the Stripe public key inside of it, just like this. Now the next thing I will then do is to create our payment form. Inside this our form, I will set the client secret, okay, also set the order ID and the order detail. Now create the const Stripe, and for this one we are going to use Stripe, and the next one I'm going to get the const element, we'll use the elements. Then the next one I'm going to create our loading, okay, loading, then I will set loading to use state, which I will set it to false, and I'll go ahead and also set the one for error, go ahead and set the one for payment success. So what I'm going to do for you guys is I'm going to leave this, I'm not going to add toast, so you can use the method I used to set up toast for adding cards, you know, to handle the toast for you for the payment success. I'm just going to leave it the way I have it here. Let's also set this one to false. Now let's handle the submit. For the handle submit, do the usual thing, handle submit, and we'll use async, but let's leave it as e instead of writing the full event, and this will have to be e.prevent default. Set our loading to true, then set our error to null. Thereafter, let's close this. If is not Stripe or is not element, go ahead and return. Then we'll set our const CRUD. For this card we are going to use element, then dot get element, but not element by ID, sorry. Inside it I will set my CRUD element. I'm going to then set the const for our result, and for that I will do const result. For this we will do await, we'll call on Stripe dot confirm CRUD payment, and inside it we'll add the client secret. I don't need to okay. We'll set the payment method to use CRUD, but aside from CRUD we will add the billing details. For the billing details we will set it to be name, where I will add other details, but I'm going to do something different here, so I don't have much details. Just going to use .user.username. If it is not username, just customer. You can just return customer paying. Yeah, this is just like a fallback in case this does not pull up the customer's username for us. You can remove the email. The next thing is now to check for errors. If result.error, then set error to be result.error.message, then set loading to false. Thereafter, if results.payment intent of success equals to succeeded, go ahead and do this. But what I'm going to do is to do const payment, because I want to return the payment ID to backend. What I'm going to do here is to extract the payment ID. So I will do const payment ID to be equals to result.payment intent.id, right? And let me just add a comment for you, extract payment ID. Okay. This particular const I'm stating here is going to help me to extract the payment ID. So once it extracts the payment ID, go ahead and mark the payment, or let's say order, as paid with the payment ID. For this I'll go ahead and call on the mark paid function we created. We'll use await, then API.post. I will use backtick and call on /API, then /orders, then /order ID, not payment ID, / it as mark underscore paid. Let's look at the URLs and see the way we have it here. Okay, so we have it as this. Let me just copy it and see what we are doing here. Okay, API /orders, then /order ID, then /mark paid. Okay, let's go ahead and close this one. So I'm going to put comma here, and inside is our await. I will add the payment underscore ID. Let's do payment underscore ID to be payment ID. Okay, So this one, what it is doing is to send payment ID to the backend. Once this is done, I want to set payment success to true. Okay, then let me cut this off and let's close this so that below here we can add the loading. Also, when we come here, we can close this one. Now what we can then do is to return our HTML. Use our return as usual. I'll add a div. Inside my div, I'll add a class name. Let's call it payment-form. Now set my payment success, return a h3, and inside the h3 I will return payment successful. You know what I'm just doing is making everything simple for you guys. I want to show you another confirmation whereby immediately you put in your card and put in every details, you will see your payment success there. But if you want to separate the whole logic and have a more better UI whereby you will now have different page that will show you payment success, your order is confirmed, you can go ahead and do that. But what I'm just doing is to have a payment confirmation whereby you can see your payment details, put in your card, and boom, if the payment is successful, it will show you this message, payment successful. Okay, we can add your order is confirmed. Let me add a class inside this and add it as success message. Can return the form. For this form we will handle submit, but let me add a class name here, payment-form. Inside this form here I will add card element. You can decide to style the card, but I will just add some few changes to it. Class name card-element, and below we will then add these options that were showing us before. Inside the options we will have style, but this style that is showing me here, no, let's remove this. Can still leave the placeholder like this. Maybe what I can do is add a padding. For the padding, 10 ps is fine. You can also add border, 1 ps solid. You can do color. I don't even know what the color looks like, but I believe Tabline knows what it's doing by showing me that. But can return border radius, 4 ps. I don't need this one. To add invalid here, then we'll have this. Let me change this one to the icon color. So what I can then do is come down and let's close this. Now we can go ahead and add a button for the type submit, and I can add it to be disabled. Set it if it's not stripe or is not loading. The class name submit, come up a little so you guys can see. I will add loading, but let's use question mark, then set it as processing, or let's change it to pay now. So when it is stripe, show as pay now. When it is processing, it will just be showing as processing. Okay, and below we can add error. I can add a p tag here, add error dash message, close, then we are good to go for this one. Everything here looks good to go. Set up the order confirmation, and to set up the order confirmation, const, let's call it order confirmation, use arrow function, const ID. Here we will use params from React router DOM. Once we do the params, we'll also go ahead and do const order details, not just order. Can do this to be order details, then set order details, set it to null. Let's also set const for loading, set this to be true instead of null, then also set the one for error. But for this error, instead of setting it as null, I can set it as empty. Now let's also set the one for our client secret, then set client secret. We can also set the use state to be empty. Use effect. Let's see what it is showing us here. We are fetching order details with async, and we are trying the const response with api.get/the ID, then set order details to response.data. After this, we are meant to fetch the order details and create a payment intent if the order is not completed. So what I can do, instead of returning this, okay, what I can do is to do if response.data.status is not equals to completed. Right now, let's set this to be capital letter, completed. Make sure you don't make mistake here, because this is going to be checking from your backend. If response.data.status is not equals to, let's make it to be double equals completed. Then what will happen is that we will do const payment intent, then response to be await. Here we will then set our api.post, right? And for this we will go ahead and use backtick and also do this api/order class, then slash the ID slash create. Go ahead and create payment intent. Close this, cross check what we have here, create payment intent. Okay, once we do this, we will go ahead and set the client secret to be payment intent response.data.client secret. Now this is not the way we set it in our payment form. Let me cross check. Okay, so we are meant to use this, not the other way around. Let's go down, let's change this to be this. Okay, so this is our catch error can still surface, but I can also go ahead and do console so that if there's any error it will show it to me properly. Finally it's fine. Now I can come down below and do fetch other details and return ID here. If loading, let's return p tag loading. For error, let's also do the same, error return error, but I can add a class name for the error message. What I'm now going to do is to destructure the necessary other details, and to do that we can go ahead and set another const that's going to have user, right? We will also have address, then we'll have city, we'll have country, and we'll have the product, and we'll have the total underscore price, and lastly we'll have the status. No need for it. Now we'll set it to be equals other details. Okay, now when we set this, we will go ahead and return the HTML. Let's do return. First we'll have other confirmation, then other confirmation here, then let me add another p. For the p, we'll do your order ID with, okay, let's do your order with, not order with ID, so we can assign this to be an ID. Set it to be ID has been placed. Now we can go ahead and have a h2 that will have the other details. Remove one of the I. Now the first thing is to have a div again. For this div, let me add it as the order summary. So let's have class name order dash summary, and inside this div I will add a h3 that will have the customer information, and we'll have a p tag, and inside the p will have a strong will have the name, and for the p add it to be user.username. Okay, do another one, so add strong. For this one we will add address, duplicate this and handle the one for city and country. So for this one I'm going to change it to be city, while for this we can have country. Okay, so what I'm doing here is just to have an order summary that will show you what you're ordering, the whole details, you know. So the next one will have to have the products. Then for the products we can have it as a list UL. I can add a class name here, call it product-list, so that inside this one we can use map, product.map, then we'll have the product, but I'm going to change the style again. Thank you Tabline for helping out, but I don't want to go with your style. We can then have the arrow function, and inside here we'll have this our product.id. But let me add a class name here to be product-item, but I'm going to return not only just that, I need the image. For the image we have product.image, product.name, add a class name to be product.image. Now show the payment form if we have a client secret and order is not completed, but in a situation where the order is completed, you can just show a confirmation message like order completed, you know, thank you for your purchase. You will not be seeing the card. Come down below here and I will do client. This is good to go. In a situation whereby an order is completed, I want it to go ahead and check that for me if it is completed, and go ahead and do, let me add a class name inside this to be class name confirmation message, your order has been completed and thank you for your order. So let's close this, bring this here, can bring this one down so we can indict and have it this way. Put semicolon here, come down below, we will go ahead and export default order confirmation. Okay, you can cross check everything and make sure there is no error, because we have written how many lines of code here? About 170 something lines of code, and when you write such lines of code you are bound to have errors. So let's cross-check line by line and make sure there's no error before we continue to set up our order confirmation inside our app.js. Okay, I have cross-checked and I did not see any error, but time will tell. When we are testing, we will see if everything is working fine. Before we test, let's go ahead and open up our ties for the confirmation. So I'll call it order confirmation.css. That's what we called it here. Okay, go ahead and paste this CSS that I already have. Save, close this down. Now if we come to our app.js, let's close this. We can go ahead and import our order confirmation. Import order confirmation from our component, so that if we come below here, we can import our order confirmation. So we have order confirmation, but I'm just gonna leave this as ID. Okay, then slash the order confirmation. So we can go ahead and save this. Now if we go back here, let's see, let's refresh. Request failed with status code 404. Okay, let's inspect. So we are having error fetching our order details. Okay, so let's come back in our order confirmation.js. So this is what we are using to get our orders, right? Do we have a slash here? I just need to change it to be orders. Then we will add int here, and inside the int we'll add the pk. Close this, save it up, because in our views we are using the retrieve, update, destroy. Okay, now if we come back, let's see, let's refresh this. Okay, status failed with 500. Let's see. Okay, so we are getting an error. Order object has no attribute total amount. Okay, so we can close these up. Let's come back here. Let's open up our models. So what we have is total price. Close the models. Let's go back to our order confirmation and let's open up our front end and see. Okay, so we are having this error from the create payment intent. So we need to see our views to know what is going on in our payment intent. So let's open up our views. Open it here. Close this. What do we have in our... Okay, so this is where the problem is. So this is meant to be total price and not total amount. So let's cross-check this code again and make sure we are not making any mistake. Order.objects.get ID, order underscore ID. Okay, then intent, we are setting it order.total price times 100 and currency USD metadata. Okay, now let's save and let's come back here. Can close this down and refresh. Let's even go back, open up this. We are seeing no API key provided. Hint, send your API key using... Okay, so this is because our API key, probably the way I'm setting it here, our backend is still not seeing the API key yet. So we can open up our settings again. Let's cross-check the way we are setting up our API key. I knew something would be wrong with this. We'll have to try another logic. So let's terminate this. Let's use Python decouple. Okay, so what I can then do is I can import it from decouple, import config, so that here I can use config to get our Stripe secret key. Okay, so let's run server again. Now let's try to refresh this and see. Okay, we have passed the stage of not seeing our secret key, because as you can see now we are able to access this. We are not seeing that error. We are using decouple to access this, but we are still having some error. One of them is uncaught type. Completed is not a function. Okay, so where is that? This place. So let's go back and see in our line 61. Close down the terminal. Can even close this and also close this. So if we come to our confirmation here, this is where the error is coming from. And what we are doing is to use client secret and the order details and status if it is not equals to completed, and we set this. Okay, so the problem that is affecting this is after this I'm meant to put this save. Now let's come back because it's not a function. As you can see, we are now able to see our order confirmation. Your order with ID1 has been placed successfully. So this is the details. Okay, YouTube 45 gigs to New York City, product is iPhone 1, quantity price is this, total price is this, the status is pending. Okay, so we can try to see if our payment is working. Let's use 42424242 24042. Let's do 25 then, and we'll go ahead and pay now. Invalid API key. Okay, so our API key is not being seen, so we can go back here. Let's open up. In this our AMV, this is the way we are setting up our Stripe public key. So maybe what I can do, if we come back here, instead of importing it the way I am importing it here, which might be the reason why it's not seeing it, I can just set it up here. Can do const Stripe public key, but instead of doing it this way, I can do import.meta.env. Then we can copy this and put it here. Okay, so with this method now, we are going ahead to assign the Stripe public key here. Save. Let's come back and see. Pay. So it's still saying invalid API key. Okay, what if, let me even try to do console.log the Stripe public key. Come back and inspect this. Okay, so it's showing us undefined. Okay, showing us undefined. So what if I add this as vite, then underscore Stripe public key, save it up. Let's come back here. We can do this as vite public key, come back and inspect this. Okay, so you can see the key is showing now. So I think the problem was because in vite you have to add the vite itself when you're setting your environment variable. The way I set this one here, vite 10 underscore API. If you just set it like that without adding vite, because vite is what I'm using for this project, it will not be showing that. So once I did that, I'm able to get the public key. Can go ahead now to let's run this. Let's add our card 424242, then 25. Okay, so let's go ahead and pay now. Your postal code is incomplete. Okay, so let's pay now. Payment successful. Your order is confirmed. Good. Now to check if this order was successful, we can try to refresh this now. When we refresh, we are seeing order completed. Your order has been completed successfully. Thank you for your order. As you can see, you can no longer see the card payment, and if we come back here and refresh this, you will see we have the payment completed and we have this payment ID from Stripe. Now if we come to our home and refresh, we'll not be able to see the orders because I have not set up the orders to be showing in the dashboard. So let's quickly set that up. All we just need to do is come back to our code here. Let me close this and also close this. Inside our dashboard, we can try to add orders, and to do that we will then set up our orders here. So I can even do it here. After this user data, I can add another const. Let's call it orders. We do set orders. We use array inside for the use state. Now with this setup, we can also decide to handle, you know what, let me handle pagination state, and for that I will do const current page. Will set the current page to be 1, then const orders page will set it, I think is 5 that I set in our, let's see the pagination numbers we have in our settings.py. Yeah, 5. Pagination size is 5. Okay, so 5. Then we can also set another one for const total orders. Then we'll set total orders use state to be 0. Then we'll close this. Come below here, this place where we are fetching the user data, we can also decide to fetch the initial orders. I'm going to set up that function shortly, so I can come here and do fetch orders, and what I will do here is to do await fetch orders. I'm going to create this function currently. We will set it to the current page. What did we set here? current page. Come below here, we can set up the fetch orders function. I can do const fetch orders, right? For this fetch orders, we'll use async. Inside this one, we'll set a parameter of page, and I will use an arrow function. Inside this arrow function, use try. Then we'll use our access token, the local story.get item access token. Then I will set my const headers, where I will set it to be equals to authorization, then the access token. Now let's forget about this for now. Go ahead and set my order response. So I will do const orders, call it orders response. We'll use await, then we'll do api.get. Remember the API we set up for our admin. Now is the perfect time to use it. That is the URL. Let's look at it again. So the one we set up for users to view orders. So what I can do, I don't think I have already set up. Let's go to our views first before we come back here. In our views, we can have, what do we have? We have the order view, user order view. This one is for single orders, while this one is for creating new order. Now I can set up another view for listing orders for users, users listing orders. So for this one, we can just create a class, call it user order list, then view. For this one, we'll use generics.list API view, and we'll use the serializer class to be order serializer. Permission classes is authenticated, then also get query set. Let's get underscore query set. Now for this one, if the user is admin, it will also return all, otherwise not. If self.request, then .user.is underscore staff, right? Go ahead and return the order object. So it's going to return all orders when the person is a staff. If not, return order objects dot filter, whereby it will now assign the user.self.request.user. The user will only be able to see his or her own order. So this order listing I'm handling here is going to do two things. It's going to return all order objects for users that are staff, but if you're not a staff, it will return your order based on the orders you have made. That is what I'm doing in this get query. Now with this, we can come back to our urls.py and quickly create this endpoint, and here we'll do API then /orders, right? Or let's just call it do we have orders somewhere here? If we do not have order, okay, get the user view and orders. We can call it user view orders, right? Then close this and comma. We'll go ahead and return user, what's the name of the class? User order list view dot as view, then user orders, save. So that back in our dashboard, can go ahead and do api.get. Let's use backtick and do slash, but what we have here is API. What do we have in the endpoint? So let's just copy this, come back and paste it here, but let's do it this way. Let me add a question mark, then put page to be equals to page. Close this up, the page we are calling, so that we can put comma here, and then we can set our headers. Okay, so with this particular setup, we can even try to log and see the orders. Let's do console.log the order response. Close it, but let me arrange it properly. Order response, comma. Once we are done with this, we'll go ahead and set orders, and inside the set orders we'll add orders response, then data result. Okay, then we'll go ahead and also set the total orders to be orders response data count. Okay, now once we are done with this, we can close this our try and catch error. For the error, we'll do set error. Now I think there's a way I can even handle this error in a better way. Now before setting this error, I can come here and do const error message. I will do error.message. No, let's do error.response instead, right? And come inside here, we'll do this error.response.data, then .detail. If it is not, then return, nope, let's return an error occurred, an error occurred while fetching others. Okay, remove this, and below what I can also do is to handle this, then plus error message. So below here, let's close this and also close this and come down. I will do const paginate. For the paginate, I will set it to be page number. Okay, then set it as an arrow function, and inside my arrow function I will set the current page number to be page number. Then I will fetch the orders with the page number. Now this can still work. Below, after we have this render user data, I can render our orders before the render admin features. So let's come down here. I will do const render orders. Inside this div, let's return a h3. For the h3, I will add it as orders. Then I will do, we can handle a situation whereby if there is no orders, then it will return no orders found. And let me remove this one so we can handle our pagination controls. Okay, so inside this one, let me add a class name. Let's call it pagination. Now inside our pagination, what I will do is to add total orders is greater than, let's close this. Now inside our render admin features, we already have this, but what I can do is inside our dashboard, we will go ahead and add render orders, so we can render the orders. But let's cross check and see where we are having this error that is affecting our code. Okay, so from these our fetch orders, first we should remove this. Yeah, so that is the problem that was affecting our code. Now if we save and let's go back, let's refresh this and see first. Okay, yeah, so you can see we have this order showing here, order 1 completed. So even if when I still remove as an admin, I can still see my orders here. So guys, in the next video, I'm going to set up a review and rating. We have been able to cover a lot in this tutorial. If you have any question, remember to ask, and please do not hesitate to subscribe if you haven't. If you have, please keep on liking the video and sharing it if possible. And guys, remember, the only way you become a pro in this field is by practicing. And I'm making it easier for you by building real life projects for you that you can use to become a pro by practicing and doing better than what I have done. So use what I have done to better your skills, and I wish you all the best.